Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. In this lecture, I'm going to tell you about how to do a presentation in English. Okay. So to make a presentation in English, actually there are three stages that we are going to go through. The first stage is the beginning, and then the middle, and then the ending of our presentation. But in this lecture, we're just going to talk about the beginning of the presentation. That is how to start a presentation in English. Okay, now let's just get started. Okay, basically, to begin your presentation, there are at least five stages that you gotta do. The first thing is create your audience. Okay, this is very important and very easy. The next stage is state your topic. Tell them what you are going to say on your presentation. The next thing you gotta do is make an outline. So when you make an outline, it's gonna be easier for your audience to understand your presentation. And then the next thing you gotta do is tell the duration of your presentation. This is optional. You can do this or you can skip this. It doesn't matter. Tell your audience how long does it gonna take for you to do a presentation. And the last thing you need to do when you start a presentation is manage the question and answer sessions. All right. So this part is quite important for you because uh, some of the audience maybe they don't know the regulations of your presentation. So whenever they have questions, they will interrupt your presentation, and it's gonna distract your concentration, and it's going to disturb your presentation. Okay, so well, now let's just start with the first part of the beginning of your presentation is the greetings. All right. So in greetings, there are some expressions that you can use. Of course, I only have two examples, but you can find more examples outside of here. Okay, the first expression that you can use is good morning. Okay, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, remember the pronunciation. Good afternoon, good evening. Okay, let me read out the examples. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm blah 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 from blah blah blah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's blah blah blah. I'm from blah blah blah. Okay, so that is the example of the greetings. Okay, now let's move on to the next part is to state your topic. Okay, to state your topic, I have five examples here. Okay, let me read it out for you. Today, I'd like to present about blah blah blah. Well, the subject of my presentation is blah blah blah. Thank you for being here today. I'm blah 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 from blah blah blah. I'm here today to talk to you about blah blah blah. Thank you for joining me here this evening. I'm blah 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 from blah blah blah. I'm here today to talk to you about blah blah blah. What I want to do today is to give you information about blah blah blah. Okay, so those are some expressions that you can use to state your topic, or you can find it somewhere outside here. Okay. Next, the next part is to tell your audience about the duration of your presentation. Okay, you can use these three expressions. Okay, let me read it out for you. This will be brief. It should only last 15 minutes. I will only take 30 minutes of your time. The presentation will take about 2 hours, but there will be 20-minute break in the middle. Okay, so those are some expressions that you can use to tell your audience how long that it's gonna take for you to conduct your presentation. Okay, now let's move on to the next part of the beginning of your presentation is to give the outline of your presentation. Okay, to give the outline of your presentation, it means you divide your presentations into several parts. And here are some expressions that you can use to give the outline of your presentation. I've divided my presentation into three parts. First, blah, blah, blah. Second, blah, blah, blah. Third, blah, blah, blah. There are three main parts to my presentation. To begin with, blah, blah, blah. Following that, blah, blah, blah. And last but not least, blah, blah, blah. The subject will be looked at under the following headings. Firstly, blah, blah, blah. Secondly, blah, blah, blah. and finally, blah, blah, blah. All right. Right now, let's just move on to the next stage is holding questions and answer on the presentation. Okay. I have two examples here, but you can find it more on the outside of this video. The first expression that you can use to hold the question and answer presentation is, I'd be glad to answer your questions at the end of my talk. Please hold your questions until the end of my presentation. Okay. All right. So those are five things you gotta do. You need to do. Okay. Some are optional. Those are five things you need to do when you begin a presentation in English, and those are the example of the expressions that you can use to begin your presentation. All right. Now let's move on to the real action of beginning your presentation in English. I'm going to give you a real example of how to begin your presentation in English. Okay. Now let me read it out for you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brittany Spears. I'm a speaking trainer of Gamadina Speaking Course. I'm here today to talk to you about conducting a presentation in English. Our aim here is just to get some information about some phrases used in a presentation. I've divided my talk into three sections. First, I'll go over a brief explanation on how to begin a presentation. Then, we'll look at some phrases you can use in the transitioning. And finally, I'll explain some expressions in closing a presentation in English. My talk will last only about 5 minutes. Please hold your questions until the end, and I'll be glad to answer them at that time. Okay, so that is the example of introducing a presentation or to open a presentation in English. Okay. Okay, so that is the end of the lecture of our speaking part today about conducting a presentation in English. Thank you. Bye bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.